This story begins in a time when black and white lives were shaped not by choice, but by systems built to divide, where industries thrived on conflict, nations whispered mistrust, and Africa and America stood connected by history, yet torn apart by manipulation and fear that was never truly theirs. In those years, factories, plantations, and political machines quietly benefited while communities suffered, as black and white workers were taught to see each other as rivals, instead of recognizing the hands above them pulling the strings for profit and power. Africa carried the memory of stolen labor and broken families, while America carried the scars of segregation and inequality. And between them grew a painful silence where understanding should have lived but was buried under generations of misinformation. Daily life was once defined by caution, where neighborhoods were separated by invisible lines, workplaces echoed with unspoken tension, and history was told in fragments that never revealed who truly gained from the division. Over time, voices began to rise, not in anger, but in awareness, as people started asking why the same struggles repeated, why wealth flowed upward while ordinary lives remained trapped, and why unity was always portrayed as impossible. Slowly, conversations replaced accusations, and shared histories were examined honestly, revealing how industries and systems had turned difference into a weapon while presenting exploitation as normal progress. In classrooms across Africa and America, children began learning complete truths, not filtered versions, understanding that survival had always depended on cooperation rather than conflict imposed from the outside. Workplaces transformed as black and white colleagues focused on skill, integrity, and contribution instead of color, realizing productivity increased when respect replaced resentment. Communities rebuilt trust through everyday routines, sharing transport, sharing markets, sharing responsibilities, and understanding that dignity multiplies when it is not rationed. The industries that once fueled division were pressured to reform, as transparency, fair labor, and ethical responsibility became expectations rather than slogans. Media narratives shifted from fear-based storytelling to solution-driven dialogue, highlighting cooperation instead of chaos and showing real lives instead of exaggerated differences. In Africa, innovation rose with global partnerships rooted in equality, while in America, social systems slowly corrected themselves through accountability and collective demand for fairness. Families discovered that peace did not arrive dramatically, but quietly, through stable jobs, safer streets, and the absence of daily hostility that once drained emotional strength. Cultural exchange became normal rather than symbolic, as music, food, ideas, and traditions flowed freely, reminding people that creativity thrives where walls fall. Economy growth began reflecting shared benefit, proving that unity was not charity, but strategy, not weakness, but strength. Disagreements still existed, but they transformed into dialogue rather than destruction, grounded in mutual recognition of humanity. The memory of past suffering was preserved not to reopen wounds, but to prevent repetition, serving as a compass rather than a chain. Leadership evolved under pressure from informed citizens who refused to accept policies that divided for convenience. Africa and America discovered that their futures were deeply connected, not through dominance or dependency, but through cooperation and respect. Daily life now moves with quiet confidence, where children play without inherited fear, and adults plan without inherited bitterness. Workdays are measured by purpose instead of survival, and success is defined by contribution rather than exclusion. The shared economy rewards innovation that uplifts communities instead of draining them, and progress is measured by well-being, not exploitation. Social spaces feel open, conversations feel honest, and silence is no longer heavy with mistrust. Faith in humanity slowly rebuilds as systems align more closely with justice, proving change is possible when people remain united. Africa stands strong in its identity, America stands accountable in its responsibility, and both walk forward without denying the past. The agreement between black and white is no longer written on paper, but lived in routine actions and shared decisions. History now serves as a lesson rather than a prison, guiding choices instead of defining limits. The industries that once divided now understand that sustainable success depends on social harmony. What once seemed like an impossible agreement has become ordinary life, and that ordinariness is its greatest victory. This is not a perfect world, but it is an honest one, where unity is practiced daily, not promised occasionally, and the future is shaped together rather than stolen apart.